All right, everybody, welcome back. It is Monday, September 9th, and this is my second video since my last post yesterday. Today, I'm going to, walk you guys through what I did in my trading session this morning and show you guys how much I raised, how much I, made, and, talk through a little bit about, the technical aspect of it and my mentals. Alright, so let's jump into the charts. Alright, so as you guys can see, this is my TOS setup. Like I showed you guys yesterday, my weekly and monthly is on the bottom left. The top left is my 15 minutes, top right is my 5 minutes, bottom right is my daily chart. So as I came into the morning, I was looking at a few things, the overall structure of the market, especially NASDAQ. So I was looking at the monthly, and I'm just gonna read through my notes that I had written down this morning. So I thought that the monthly was looking weak, looking like it failed to go higher. If you notice, September had the potential to break August and continue to make new highs, but seems like September started selling off, opened at the open of August, started selling off in the first 10 days, and this week especially again is almost opening at the lower end, almost at the close of last week. And what I noted is it failed to go higher and it's starting to make new trend downwards. And then we went to the weeklies, and it's again on a downward trajectory. Something to note is last week closed off really strongly. There's no wick, it's closing off at the end of the bar. And this week, if you see, had opened slightly above where last week closed off. It also meant that it's potentially gonna go downward, because of the weakness that you're seeing here on the weekly structure. Now, going into the daily, so what we're seeing here is the daily had been in a downward trend overall in the past few weeks, especially last week was quite the sell-off, and this week could also continue to sell off if structurally it had opened below last week's Friday's low. It would have given the market participants the idea that there's more people that willing to sell at lower prices. But what happened is today sort of opened a little higher, almost inside previous bar, almost at the mid-level. So it kind of gave me a sense that it could potentially move a little high, try to test the highs of yesterday, Friday, and potentially decide whether it wants to go higher or lower. But considering the monthly and the weeklies, it seemed to me like there was some level of confluence for a downward move. And my plan was to capture any side the market went and see where it took me. I was biased that it's gonna go downward, but you can only be assessing what might happen, but you cannot stick to that mindset and not see what the market is literally telling you. So price action does that, so it literally is telling you what's happening, but again, bear in mind you have to look at the overall picture and not just zoomed in version of what's happening. So with that in mind, I was hoping that structurally it would be really good if the market tested in the first couple of bars going higher and failed and continued lower, and that would have been a great entry for me. But the market had other plans today. If you look at the top right, the first bar sort of started moving up, and it was the first 5 minutes of the day. The second bar sort of paused, didn't know which direction it was gonna go. It as you can see, it was only upward. So here I had two options. I could either enter on a good sell off downward, which would be a test and also a follow through towards, you know, being in confluence with the weekly and monthly downward. But what happened next was sort of a nice swing, which paused, not breaking, the first bar slow. It sort of was holding that structure of going up, and that gave me an idea that okay, the market wants to test higher. And at the fourth bar, I was hoping that it broke the third bar slow as well as the first bar and continued with good strength downward, which would follow suit with the weekly and the monthly. But it didn't sell off as much, and if you see, the volume also had tapered down. What happened next on the fifth bar was the market broke the fourth bar, started continuing high, it made a swing, and it gave me an entry. And I took an entry there, and if you see the white line, that's where my stop loss was. The sixth bar continued higher. It had already moved, I guess, a point, about 0.7 points by then, almost I think $1 move, and I'd already gotten on the options that I was holding about 20%. But my trading style is to see what's coming next, and the 6 bar didn't really make sense for me to exit, so I was holding it. And the 7 bar sort of paused. At this point, I was debating mentally. I was debating if I should be holding, because structurally it's a bearish day. In my opinion, it was going to be a bearish day, and this was just a test and potentially move higher if the test succeeded, which would be to break the channel, the blue line that you guys are seeing, and continue to go higher. So I was debating all of this in my head at that point, and the position is working out in my favor. I don't want to give away more by holding longer for a retracement. So what I do is I'm trying to trail my stop loss as the trend is going higher. So that's what I did. As the 6 bar sort of went higher, I trailed my stop loss to my break-even point, slightly below my break-even where I entered. What happened next was a pause, and it didn't hit my stop loss. What happened next was, if you see this little wick down below, it hit my stop loss and went a little underneath that. And at this point, I had to follow my rules and exit. But what happened next was, it was just a retracement and a continuation upward to test the highs of the day and break it. I saw today is a little bit test of patience, when my stop loss was trailing and the market was sort of getting closer to that. But more than anything, it was the test of how I'd take that, the outcome. Today the outcome was, it hit my stop loss and the market continued, and it was quite frustrating. When that happens to anyone, I know how frustrating it is. But it is the nature of the game. You win some, you lose some. Sometimes when you lose, it'll hit your stop loss and continue go higher and even higher, and you might miss out on a fabulous move. But it is what it is. It took me a while to accept that trade, accept the outcome, but this is, for the long run, this is what you should be doing, what I should be doing. Focus on the day, focus on your trade if you've executed well following all your rules. And what I did today is I executed well following all my rules. And one thing is, what I'm doing right now for the foreseeable future is only take one trade per day, and I'm gonna execute that to the highest level. I'm not gonna take any more trades than one. Today I could have taken another trade. It was beautiful as per plan. It continued to trend down, and it was close to a $0.5 sort of move, and in the options it's about 100% above or more. But I was sticking to my strategy, I was sticking to my rules, I was holding, my plan was to execute one trade at the highest level, I did that, but mentally I was a bit challenged. Tomorrow's another day. Let's see what comes by tomorrow. So as the day progressed, I think what we did was the market sort of is still indecisive. It's potentially making a setup for another test higher, maybe test Friday's highs, and Friday's open and high, and what happens there sort of dictates what's gonna come this week. If it's gonna break Friday's high, it might continue higher and sort of change the structure for this week. But if it doesn't, then we might see a little bit more sell-off coming this week, potentially go into August lows, and if that cracks, we might see a potential September sell-off, and October is going to be interesting. The next few months are going to be interesting, even with the elections. Structurally, it's sort of iffy right now, but we'll see what comes. All right, so hope you guys liked it, and see you guys tomorrow. Another day to crush. Thank you, everybody. Bye. Well, I'm doing this like all the YouTubers, but let's see. I'm just gonna say bye.